Hey everybody, welcome to Kimmel's Irish Pub. Time for another movie review. Tonight's movie, Love Lies Bleeding. Again, something I found on TikTok. I know I heard of it, but the guy, one of the people I follow on TikTok, saw this on Sundance and said it was like his favorite film of the year so far. So, Kristen Stewart's in it, Dave Franco, and Katy O'Brien. Katy O'Brien, I think, is interesting because she was in The Mandalorian. And I've never seen her before. That was the first, at least that's the first time I realized I saw her. And I thought she has a very unique, look to her. And I was like, that's like cool, because like you see, like a lot of the movie stars, they all look the same. I mean, there's a lot of doppelgangers, right? We can go through that whole thing, but she's very unique, and so I'm interested to see what she's like in this role. She's a very interesting role in Mandalorian, so I liked her. Ed Harris is also in this. Jena Malone is another name I recognize. But anyway, a gym manager evidently falls in love with some bodybuilder who comes passing through town on her way to some kind of competition in Las Vegas. So I'm assuming it's those two. 6.8, which I thought it was going to be higher, but that's okay. 17,256 people rated so far. I thought there would be more ratings as well, but I don't care. I'm excited. Hopefully it's a good film. And we'll see if I continue following that guy on TikTok. Maybe not. No, just kidding. Alright, stick around. I'll let you know what I think. Hey everybody. We're at the credits of Love Lies Bleeding. And I have to say, interesting film. Very unexpected, I think, from me. Alright? Not sure how I feel, so let's talk about it. It starts off, and I might have to, whatever. It starts off like they say, right? So, what's her name? Now I can't remember her name. Our main character, who is the manager at the gym that she works at, right? So, sorry, I apologize. Yeah, Kristen Stewart. Sorry, Kristen Stewart is there. She's the manager there. And then, I guess it's Katy O'Brien is the bodybuilder who comes through town. And just to get it out of the way, Dave Franco is Kristen Stewart's abusive brother-in-law. So he's married to her sister, right? And then N. Helms is their dad, is her dad. Anyway, so Katy O'Brien comes through town. And, I mentioned before, I think this is the biggest thing for me, a part of the review, I think. I've seen her, she was in other things. She was in The Walking Dead. She was in World War Z or something like that. Whatever. And more, like I always knew her. I knew her from a role in Mandalorian. And she's very stoic, and I knew this before, that she is a martial artist, right? So, and like the character she played in The Mandalorian, I expected that from her. Because I could see it. I could see it translating into this bodybuilder. But that's not who she was. She didn't bring that character here. Completely different character. Funny with the curly hair is a little different than what she has, like the crew cut that she has in that movie. But this one, she's more, I don't know, not stoic, more likable, I'd say, more fun-loving kind of person, at least initially. And there's things that change throughout the movie. But initially, when you see her, I was like, oh, okay, she's like loving life and having fun and meeting Kristen Stewart and liking her, and they're just having a lot of fun together. But the big point is, like, I think about this all the time, and I know it's very popular for actors to go out and change themselves and just be like, I always, you talk about the oh, now I forget his name, the Baywatch guy. Anyway, gosh, I'm falling all over the place here. But how actors, mainly men actors, is what I've noticed, change themselves for the different roles, right? And so you see that Zac Efron, that would have drove me crazy. You can see how Zac Efron did that for that wrestling movie. I mean, and so many other guys, and there's a lot of different, Christian Bale going backwards and like getting as skinny as a rail. But people bulking up and, and I've all the time, and I can't imagine what that does to their body. But it's amazing that they can actually do that. And transform themselves into these giant people. That's what she did. I'm not saying she wasn't in shape in other movies that I've seen her in, but she was like a literal flexor. You know what I mean? Bodybuilder. Like, it was like, wow, unbelievable. So that, you know, hats off to that, and I enjoyed that aspect of it, to see the transformation, not only of, you know, the way she looked, but the way she acted different. So, so anyway, they meet each other, and that's at first, the first couple of parts of this movie is the romance of it all, right? And, you know, anything that you can imagine in a romance is going to be here. And I thought that was basically what was going to happen. I thought they'd like each other and, you know, maybe come on hard times, maybe break up, maybe not. But no, it shifts gear. What you thought was just going to be this movie about two girls finding each other, you know, in what seems like the 80s in the Midwest, changes gear. So I mentioned Dave Franco's character he's abusive to his sister, her sister, and you know, so that comes full circle. I said Ed Helms, that's not right. I think I said Ed Helms. I meant Ed Harris. Ed Harris seems he owns a gun range where Dave Franco works at. Kind of makes a lot of money. Seems to be like kind of, you know, working behind the scenes, not really on the up and up with everybody, so running some black market stuff, if you will. But he kind of controls everything. So as you can imagine, a lot of these things, you know, come to head, in a sense, as the movie progresses, and it changes. And the reason I'm not saying much more about it is because that was a surprise to me. Like I said, I thought when I first started watching this, I'm like, okay, it's just a different setting, and a different type of love movie. And that's not what it is, right? So it moves forward, and so I love that aspect of it. I love the setting, the environment. I thought they just took a love story and put it in a 80s Midwest weightlifting, you know, kind of environment, and that's not what they did. I mean, they did for a little bit, but then it turns on its head. So so really, yeah. No, I don't know if I have anything else I want to say before I get into spoiler alerts, because it's always so tough. Right? So I have to. So if you haven't seen it yet and you want to hear more about it, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to talk a little bit more openly. I'm not going to ruin the ending, but I am going to ruin the part that I enjoyed the most, the transition. So thanks for tuning in, but if you want to stick around, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Alright, so steroids get involved, of course, which I thought was crazy what had happened, right? So she's already huge. There's a scene where she's in Dave Franco's house, and I don't know if it's a camera angle or whatever, she literally looked like she filled the room. And I was like, holy cow, like, is she that big, or what did they do there? You know, and that's kind of a foreshadowing. So I was amazed by that piece of it. So, you know, as we know, if you have seen it, you know what happens, and they kind of get their hands dirty trying to protect the sister. And then trying to hide all that. And then the transition of Jackie, Kristen Stewart's girlfriend, how she, like, because of all the steroids, comes back. And it's like, really? Like, she was gonna shoot her. And Kristen Stewart was like, okay, and like, there's an apology there. You know, normally, like, when people cheat on other people, it's usually over. Well, she tried to kill her. She really pulled the trigger and there was no more bullets left. But she forgave her and fought for her until the end. So that's true love, let me tell you that. But then the giant piece at the end. You know, as I mentioned, there was that foreshadowing when they're in Dave Franco's house. What happens to him when he gets was it American History X'd, if you will. If you have seen that, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, after that happens and they show him like she looks like a giant. And then they do the whole giant thing at the end. And I get it at first. I think it was, at first I was like, this kind of took it to a ridiculous level. But I think what really happened was that's just the way she saw her. That's not necessarily the way she was. And she sees her as this big, huge, giant superhero that comes in to help save the day, right? I hope that's it, right? I hope I'm figuring that out and it's more of a metaphor, if you will, or something like that. Not really what I originally happened, because at first I was like, what? You know, and the throwing up on stage of Kristen Stewart was kind of weird, you know. So there are little pieces that make it even stranger than what the rest of the Strange movie was. I mean, it was not strange, but it was new, it was different, and I liked it. And I liked all the characters. And Ed Harris, not Ed Helms, his hair, you know, a little much, Dave Franco's, now that was on point. Dave Franco's hair in this, phenomenal. And I didn't like her hair, the curly hair. I get it though, it was pulling off the 80s look and stuff, but it just made her look different than what I was thinking she looked like, but that's okay. And Kristen Stewart's hair too, like I just put it all together. What a crazy hair movie. So yeah, all that, and in the end, I like being entertained. I like being surprised. So I like the new angles, the creativeness. I enjoyed it. I liked it because it's nothing I've seen before, all wrapped up in one. And yeah, I thought I was getting something I've seen before in just a different setting. So there you go. A lot of good stuff to take from this movie. A couple of things I have to keep thinking about. But in the end, wasn't on my phone, was engaged, watching it, and glad I got to see it. There you go. I don't know if I was helpful. I don't know what I'd give it. Thanks for asking. I'm leaning towards a 7. But I'm also going back to a 6. It's got to give more thought on that. But you can see where I am. I don't think it's an 8. Definitely not a 5. I got to start giving half points. It's probably a 6.5. So it's where do I want to round it? There you go. I'll figure it out. But I appreciate you tuning in. If you stuck with me this long, Kimmel's Irish Pub.